Hi, Marius. This is David from Chaoszine from Finland. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, so it's only 2 weeks now till the release of ID.Entity. Hopefully that's the right way to say it. How do you feel about this new record?
Pretty stressed. By the way, I see very nice things on your shelf behind your back.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty
so
good. To just put the right albums for this interview. Great, thank you so much. I feel
yeah.
excited, and at the same time, I feel a bit terrified because it's always like this. When I work on something, I start with the blank page, and I'm pretty excited. But when we have the album release date, I feel like something ends, and that makes me sad. So probably during the day of the album release, I would feel excited slash sad at the same time. Weird feeling. But that's the explanation why I always try to record another album and why I have to do as much as I can. But yeah, I feel great because that will be the first album since 2018. So it's been a while.
Yeah, a lot of things that happened between the previous album Wasteland and the current one and the new one. And you know, I was thinking, okay, the tour, then you had you released Lunatic Soul, the solo album, compilation by Riverside, uh worldwide pandemic, everything between these two albums. And the albums are also like very different. And I read in the press information that you sent that you know, you kind of have dealt with the grieving of losing a band member as a band. I'm sure on a personal level somehow it never ends, but that sort of turn the page and start a new chapter, and it shows in the music. So how did it, like, how did you come up with this kind of new approach? Or was it the time, or was it the, you know, the headspace where you were as a band that make you, you know, decide let's go this way?
During the pandemic, we did a break. Of course, we had to play a few shows, but I was not very into Riverside's music. I was more into Lunatic Soul, into my own electronic experiments that I started. But I still had this at the back of my head that we sooner or later need to go back to Riverside. And then I realized that it would be nice to talk about who we are these days. So this identity thing came up, and I said to myself, wow, that's the good idea to kind of return to what we did on Anno Domini High Definition. Like talk about society, talk about some personal problems, the things that we can see all the time in the internet, like, you know, social divisions, post-truth, propaganda, and other things. And later I also realized that if it comes to identity, maybe we should record this album exactly on this level. I mean, where are we right now? Right here, right now. So I didn't want to go back to the past, to this old grief from the previous decade. We have recorded 3 albums, like Shrine, Love, Fear, and Wasteland. All of them were pretty melancholic. So I really missed the first decade of our career. So I wanted to go back to that. Thanks to the song like, which was that? Story of My Dream. I have learned how to play old Riverside music. That was my first experience with that. And after that, I knew already that when we should go, how we should start the process. And I just realized that it would be nice to talk about Riverside identity when exactly Riverside is Riverside. And then I realized that live shows, these experiences on the stage, show the truth about our band. And I wanted to have that kind of approach on the album, to not record the live album, but to record the album that shows this energy that we always can create during our live performances. So those 2 things were main inspirations, like the lyric subject, okay, identity, who are we these days, the the world is changing so fast again. It's time to take a photo of this. And what about us? Who are we now? Are we still suffering because of our loss, or maybe we moved on? I just thought that the beginning of the first decade of our career could be the new beginning, if you know what I mean. So I really wanted to start over, to start something new. So different cover, different colors, different music, but still the same. I mean, with the same background, of course.
Yeah, and actually, I remember that a few weeks ago you posted something on social media about the opener and the closer tracks of the regular version of the album, which are quite distinct, like Friend of Foe and Self-Aware. Friend of Foe hasn't been seen by everyone, heard by everyone yet, but Self-Aware was released as a single edited form, and it reminds me a lot of the Rush mid-80s period, like Signals to Power Windows, like very playful, very poppy, if you will, and you kind of were kind of warning people that there's gonna be these two songs, but to me they're still Riverside, but like. And I think that the audience, like the fans of Riverside, are quite open-minded. But why did you feel like you had to make a warning about this kind of thing? Like, were you scared of some kind of backlash?
Riverside fans are really open-minded, but progressive community, I believe, is really conservative. I don't think that they are so open-minded as they think they are, unfortunately. And because when it comes to the safety comfort zone, you feel like this. But I'd like to sometimes be outside of that. I know that there are songs in our career that people maybe don't like too much, like, I don't know, Rainbow Box or Artificial Smile or Celebrity Touch, and then some others, because people, they don't have this mystery there. They don't have this space that they always love Riverside for. But it's really sometimes necessary to put that kind of songs to create the album that is coherent, because this is one story. I still record concept albums, and I need sometimes something controversial, a bit, at least for this progressive, conservative, genre, let's be honest, because I don't want to change totally Riverside's music, but there are moments that I would like to move on a bit and step aside, maybe, not move on. So I was pretty sure that the songs like Friend or Foe or Self-Aware will be controversial in some circumstances, mostly because this is not like, you can't find their beautiful guitar solos with this space, with these melodies. They're really pop songs, but I have changed. The band has changed as well. Probably I wouldn't do that kind of songs like 5 years ago, but this time, actually, I didn't care. And I remember when we composed Self-Aware and we did this reggae part, I said, "Wow, it's really fun. Let's do this. Let's continue that." And when I was recording lyrics, the vocal for Self-Aware, I also sang this, oh, 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 oh. And I remember that the sound engineer said, "Oh my God, it's so poppy." And I said, "Right, oh my God, they just imagined that we will do this." And he said, so why can we do that? Yeah, but I'm not sure. It's too cheesy, too poppy. People will feel offended, at least some of them. And then I just said, wow, but the hell, if this is something that can maybe divide people, maybe we should do that. But I just felt that that's something that we should use, I know it sounds like Coldplay on stadiums, and for some people it will be like, oh, Riverside goes in this weird direction. But then I realized that even if I have all these thoughts in my head, I don't care. So I did it, and we did this, and we put that kind of songs. The worst thing that could happen would be to record safe album that sounds very similar to Second Life Syndrome or Anno Domini High Definition for me. And we really wanted to start a new chapter in our career. So probably this time we just said, okay, let's do this, What do we have to lose? Our career? That's fine. If people will say, oh, I don't like Riverside, no, thank you, I will stick with Second Life Syndrome. That's fine. You can stick with our old albums as well. But this is like, 20 years plus career. We really need to do something else. And we have changed. And we are a different band than on Second Life Syndrome. So we try to experiment as much as we can do in this very narrow prog box, let's be honest. So I just said, I don't care. So, but anyway, I knew that people will feel that way. So maybe that's why I wrote this post. But not as an excuse, just wanted to explain. To be honest, we knew about it and we didn't care.
Yeah, and I was thinking that also about going back to the question about the fans, also the reputation of the band. I think maybe you, as part of the band, maybe you have a different perception, but I have perception that the band is kind of highly universally acclaimed. Like even if you see websites like Metal Store, where people rank their albums or rate their albums, and there it's really tough to get any good rating if you don't grow in your music. And Riverside albums are all like very highly rated and end up in list best of the albums of the year list and kind of thing. And I was thinking, like, what is the kind of, do you have any idea of what is the secret to kind of that likability, that you're not the kind of band that it will be mentioned in a headline and people will start like hating very easily? That I think that there's something honest and like pure about the music that people appreciate and probably can relate to it very easily. What do you think about this?
Well, I know that people, there are people that they really love Riverside, and mostly not only because of the music, but also because of the subject of the lyrics, because we always try to touch this human aspect. There are some psychology, sociology in there, and people really like that. And but yeah, but that's the main key. We're talking about feelings, and I know that feelings are really fluent, and we live in that kind of days right now that unfortunately people need some time to get used to something. So your first reaction is always like a self-defense reaction, in my opinion. And it's always connected with your comfort, safety zone. Sometimes I've got this feeling that if you deliver the album or the art that's safe, that people really enjoy from the beginning to the end already, from the very beginning, and after a few listeners, after a few spins, it's just like it becomes not so interesting. Like, already everything. And if you deliver something controversial, that is, of course, really risky, because it can be one of the best albums and one of the worst. There's only two ways. But from time to time, you need to do that, at least every 7 years. I've heard that people are changing every 7 years. So maybe at least every 10 years, we try to deliver something without this safety zone. And that's the problem with many people. Like they expect something and they already imagine that in their heads. And after that, they have something totally different, and they need time to get used to that. And I had this, experience many times when someone just wrote me and said, it didn't catch me at first. I had to see you live, live with that for a few months. And after that, I realized, okay, now I know what's going on. And it's a process. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, because it's really like these days, these fluent days, but yeah, I really wanted to write the album with the lyrics like that, really direct, because I believe we don't have sometimes, when it comes to the subject, like we're talking like about post-truth, for instance. Like we are reading headlines, we don't read the actual, what's going on below. Only we're judging someone because we read the headline only, which, by the way, was projected only to be a clickbait, but we sometimes forget about it. So that's why I really wanted to create more direct lyrics this time. Keep the poetry aside, leave it for, I don't know, Lunatic Soul, for instance, and here make it more direct with all these words that I wanted to use to underline the time we live in right now. Just take a shot, take a photo of these days. So that's why this album looks like this and talks about that kind of subject. But I just believe that this is really important because people don't read, they're only judging about headlines. So if they hear some words like CEO or unsubscribe, they will know that this is about our times, And this is just like some kind of flashy things, just for, okay, so you got my attention. So what is about? Now I will read that, Fans are fans and they will always dig, but there are also people that they don't care. So I really needed something like the colorful cover, like some words that are really, really common these days. There are my warning signs a bit.
Do you think that as an artist, in addition to having this vehicle to create awareness, to make people conscious of these things, do you think that there's any solution to these things, or what is your view? Because I think that like when you grow, nihilistic or sarcastic enough, then you stop, like you kind of stop caring and you kind of see it happen and it happens in front of you. But do you have any optimism left in you when you talk about those things? Do you think there's solutions? Are there solutions?
Well, Self-Aware is the most optimistic song on this album on purpose, because this is the last one on the album. And ID.Entity is the concept album. We are talking there about some problems with our identity these days. We're talking about some issues, as I mentioned before, like, we don't believe each other, we can talk to each other right now, we don't read our posts with understanding, and there's lots of divisions and hatred, anger, and at the end this is the self-aware, like, okay, let's remember that we can change the world, but only on one condition, that we'll be together, we can stick together. That's the thing, I feel complete when I have you next to my side. And this is the message from the perspective of the band, who plays for everybody, in spite of their, doesn't matter if they are politically are on the left side or the right side, we just play the shows for everybody. And we are a band, so we need to be one body and mind and soul on the stage. So that's also a good message from the band's perspective. I believe that's the key. We need to start to listen to each other with understanding and talk to each other with understanding. There always should be something in the middle, and that's the key. So the point is, at the end, that we need each other no matter what, and we need to learn how to talk to each other. Otherwise, there will be lots of people who will use this and they will antagonize us even more. So in my opinion, we should just cancel them, we should done with them and unsubscribe them, But the funny thing, I would like to underline one subject, like, I'm just saying about that, right? That we need to be together. I'm talking about the community, but at the same time, I'm pretty sarcastic and saying that we need to done with toxic relationship. We need to unsubscribe someone. So what's with this community, right? But I believe that there are people that you should be open to. I mean, start talking to them, give them one chance, the second chance, maybe third chance. But if you see that you're just hitting the wall with your head, you're done. You should stop. You know, you should stop losing your time. I mean, for that kind of people, wasting your time. That was the word that was me. And just cancel these people from your life and go somewhere else. Take care about someone else. There are exceptions, I believe. This is not like, you know, you need to cancel 50% of people on the planet. But there are some, you know, viruses here and there that you should just simply remove. And I believe that this is really necessary these days to at least stop wasting time for being in their presence. That's it.
Yeah.
But the community, the whole community,
yeah.
The whole community is just like the most important thing. So we should learn how to be together again.
Yeah, that's a great message. And I was thinking maybe on a lighter note, I wanted to ask you about the formats available for this album. I think there's a couple of, or maybe even 2 or 4 extra tracks depending on the format that you get, and there's an art book with Dolby 5.1 mix and on Blu-ray, so like a lot of maybe new things. And I wanted to ask you, are you yourself like a music or an art collector? What formats do you prefer?
Recently, art books, CD art books are great. I really love them. I have I don't know, like 20, and it's really cool when you have this big book with all these informations that you can find on vinyl and you can find on the small CD. So I really love this. But about the format, that's another thing, you know. I'm kind of criticized capitalism on the new album, but I also have to, you know, release this on this and that format on several colors of vinyl. But that's the thing, you know, I'm struggling with that. I like that from one point of view, but from the other, I know that it's just like, you know, it's a catch to earn more money by the labels. But anyway, I believe the art book thing is a great stuff, and I really adore that. And yeah, on the new Riverside ID.Entity, for the first time, we'll have mixes 5+1 and Dolby Atmos released together with the normal CD and the vinyl, because Love You in the Time Machine and Wasteland, we did that, but you know, a year later, and lots of fans had to buy it twice, sort of way. So I really wanted to avoid that, and we prepared this surround mix, and this is only on art book version. So if you want to have everything, the art book will deliver you the most of the content from the new album.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think I'll get a vinyl anyways. I'm collecting mostly vinyl lately, and they are very hard to find later on. Like they go very quickly. So we're running out of time, but because we're finished website, or I wanted to ask, now we know that the first leg of the European tour will include UK and Northern Europe, including 2 shows in Finland, Tampere and Helsinki, if I remember correctly, in May. What can you expect? What can you kind of selling points to the fans who are like wondering what's going to be surprises in the new set or the new stage show or something?
We'll choose those songs who sound live. I mean, we'll promote our new album, which was also composed with this live approach, as I mentioned before. So I hope it will sound live good. We'll see. But in spite of that, we will pick, of course, something that we already played on our 20th anniversary. We didn't have a chance to play this tour and you know, in Finland and in Scandinavia, so we'll play it now. Probably we'll play some longer songs, because that's always sound good live.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're coming. You know, some bands that I like, they come only for festivals or opening act to a bigger band, and I really like to see my favorite bands playing a full set in a smaller space, you know, where I can be very near. So I'll see you in May, Mariusz. Congratulations on the album, and catch you then on the road.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Take
much
care.
for your time, and hi to everybody. And see you in May and in April. Yeah. Bye.
Take care. Bye.